Today's Saturday, the 18th of June. It's the first clear sky in over a week. You can see there's some clouds off to the north and the west. Transparency is a little limited. There seems to be some high, thin atmospheric humidity up there. I've already opened up the observatory, so I've got the views to the east and to the south. Now take a look at the telescope alignment. Currently it's in the zenith position. And if you really look at it, you can see that it is not vertical, perfectly vertical. It's tilted a little bit to the east in terms of the declination. And looking at it from this direction, it's pretty much straight up. And basically what that means is I caused it to drive to the zenith, and it did not exactly get to precisely the right position. So one of my goals for tonight is to do a multi-star alignment. And that involves creating a model of the sky. Even though the precise date and longitude and latitude and time is put into the controller unit down here, as you can see it's turned on, it is not actually achieving what I would consider to be a precise alignment, which means I'm going to have to find a couple of bright stars and tell the telescope and manipulate the telescope using a hand controller at high magnification, center the stars, and then what it'll do is it'll hone in on precisely the orientation of the telescope to the night sky. So that will be my goal for this evening. And that involves manipulating this hand controller down here. And the hand controller enables me to move the telescope in declination and in right ascension. Meanwhile, I'll have to go into a special mode, menu mode, and that menu mode will involve, come on, it says it's parked, oh, there we go. I'm going to have to use the align button here in the upper left hand corner in order to be able to drive it to a bright star, which I'll have to select based on what's visible. Hopefully Arcturus, Vega at some point, and Antares will be up, and possibly Spica. And what I'll do is I'll have to manipulate the hand controller after it fails to precisely align on the bright star to be able to center the star and then create a model of the heavens, so that as long as I leave the power on to this telescope and mount system, it should maintain alignment from night to night. But as soon as I turn off the power, this is what I discover: it's a bit out of alignment. So anyway, I have to learn more about all of this alignment system. And although I've played with it and had some success in the past, I really have to nail it down, because I don't want to spend too much time aligning the system, especially given the fact that we're approaching summer, and night sky dark happens roughly around 10 o'clock, 10 to 10:15. Which means I won't have much time for observing if I have to spend every night doing a model and aligning to bright stars before I can begin to use the GO2 and track against deep sky studies. Anyway, that's my goal for this evening. Backyard observatory. It's now 9:45 The sky, as you can see, has yet to get dark. What little light you're seeing is coming off of my LED lamp I have pendant from my jacket pocket. We are at the observatory. You can see the telescope. My first goal is to go ahead and do a model based on hopefully being able to get a view of Arcturus, but no, it won't be within the sightings of the telescope, which means I'm going my star I can see now is off to the north and east. It's Vega. So first we'll remove the lens cap on the 6-inch refractor. Set it aside. 2 eyepieces, one low power 40x and another high power 150x 1mm exit pupil. Remove the lens caps from the finder scope and the eyepiece. So all the lens caps have been removed. Station off to the side. So now I can get an optical view. I've got the hand controller in place. It says go to a bright star. I'm selecting. Oh, I'd really love to be able to get lined up in Arcturus, but it's blocked by the. Okay, so I'm going to set it up for Vega. Oh, there's out. I'm going to go to Vega. Now I got to be careful of the mount because as it rotates, I don't know that it might not collide with something as it reorients because I have yet to finalize the position of the telescope tripod in the observatory to make sure that it has a good work envelope. So far so good. The scope is sort of remembering the location of Vega. It's coming to a stop. Now my goal is to use the menu control for the slewing, right ascension and declination in order to center it in this eyepiece located right here. So I'm going to go about that process and I'll let you know the results. Okay, the first stage of my alignment I did to Vega. Now the clouds are starting to roll in a little bit. Now if I say go to Vega, right now to a bright star, and I select Vega, what should happen is the telescope really shouldn't move. And it isn't. It's saying go to Vega Alpha Lyrae. Meanwhile, Vega is right in the middle of the field of view for 150x, which means it's probably within 3 or 4 arc minutes of its actual location, if I had a reticle in the eyepiece. So what I want to do now is I want to get another bright star, but unfortunately I got nothing that I can choose from that is visible in the night sky, because Arcturus has already progressed beyond the bounds of the observatory to the south and the west. So what I have to do now is make a guess, and that guess is going to be, when I do these functions, now follow me on this, if you can see it, I'm going to say menu, I'm going to say align, I'm going to say go to a bright star, and I'm going to select one that should be in the sky somewhere, which is going to be something in Hercules. So I'm going to press the down button, and I'm going to go to Beta Hercules, which is Cornephoros, and I'm going to click, and the telescope is going to drive in the direction. As you can see, it's orienting. It'll come to a stop. Now, presumably, with the finder scope and the eyepiece, I can basically guess that the brightest star that I see within the finder scope is going to be Beta Hercules. And I do see a bright star, but not quite at the center of the finder scope. So what I'm going to do now is, this is going to be a 2-star alignment for the evening. I'm going to manipulate the hand controller until I manage to get the brightest star in the field of view in the middle of the reticule, which should pretty much center it closely enough so that I can find it in the field of view of the eyepiece of the telescope. Make a few more adjustments with this bright light in my eye. It's kind of challenging until I get this star. Oh, it's pretty close. Manipulating the hand controller, making small adjustments until Beta Hercules is in the middle of the field, and now basically, if I go back to menu and I do align and I select one more bright star, align, bright star, menu, align, go to bright star, and I select, oh, let's say, I'm not going to see any of those in the Antares. It's going to drive around until the telescope is roughly oriented at Antares, but unfortunately Antares is not visible at this point, but it'll at least give me an, oh, yes, I do believe I see it. So this will be the third star alignment on Antares. So as it turned out, Antares was pretty close to the center of the field in the finder scope, and I had to make but small adjustments for a third star alignment in the main telescope, which now means for the rest of the evening I have created a model that can be used to track down anything that is visible through the aperture of the observatory itself, which, as I said before, gives you a vision to the north and the east and to slightly towards the south and west, but gives a clear view to the deep south and above with culminating deep sky studies. So this is what I wanted to accomplish this evening. And now it's off to capture some photons. Okay, now with my model in place, I am going to go ahead and do one go-to a deep sky study. Give you an idea how it works. I'm going to go to, from the hand controller, to a catalog object. I am going to scroll down and find one of the most spectacular Messier globular clusters that are available in the sky, northern hemisphere, which is M13. Oops, go back. 1M1, 3, and I'm going to enter it. It's going to tell me some information about M13. It's going to say it's a globular cluster in Hercules. Its magnitude is 5.8, which is quite bright. It's 23 arc minutes in diameter and is located 25,000 light years away. It gives the position in the sky in terms of right ascension and in terms of declination. Right ascension is as the sky progresses throughout the year. Declination is north and south. This happens to be 36 degrees north latitude and 16 hours and 41 minutes in terms of right ascension. I then press the Go To button, and the scope begins its operation of orienting after I have done the modeling of the night sky. The idea here is that when it turns, orients towards M13, which is now approaching roughly the zenith, maybe off by 20 degrees. I should, on a deep night, dark sky, I should be able to look in the finder scope, and I should be able to see a fuzzy ball, which I do, and it's very near, close to the reticle center. And then I should be able to look in the eyepiece, and when I do, I can see a glowing orb punctuated by occasional stars that are resolvable. Unfortunately, because the sky is not very transparent and it's fairly light out still, it's not fully resolved in any way that I find spectacular. And yet, even with the sky roughly around 10 o'clock, very close to the summer solstice, I can see, with aversion, I can see at least 3 or 4 dozen stars resolved in the cluster. And as the sky gets darker and darker over the next half hour, it should really pop. There should be several hundred stars easily visible across, I would say, about a fifth of the eyepiece field of view. And already those brighter stars in the cluster, which probably consists of over 50 to 100,000 stars in the city of stars, are already beginning to reveal themselves. Well, folks, that's a quick orientation to how to use the mount. I am going to go inside for a while, and hopefully when I come back out, the M13 globular cluster will still be visible in the field of view as the telescope mount continues to track the turning of the Earth. Stepping out into the night about 10 to 15 minutes after I left M13 in the eyepiece to watch it drift, and I came out, and now all that humidity that was in the upper atmosphere that I saw when I came out earlier, as it got colder, it all turned into cloud cover, thin veil of vitreous cloud with occasional islands in the sky. But my evening astronomy is over. Coming out to the telescope, I will peek into the eyepiece just to see if perhaps I can figure out where M13 is in the field of view. Then I gotta shut everything down and put it away. I am not seeing in the eyepiece any hints because of the atmospheric opacity that has been accumulating over the last 15 minutes. So, my last steps to park the telescope. I am going to go to the menu, park. I'll do that again for you. Menu, park it at the zenith. We're going to watch the scope rotate around. The scope should be pointing vertically straight up at the end of this, especially after I've done the model 3-star alignment. And the telescope believes the zenith is straight up towards the top of the observatory. The angles look a little weird to me as being the zenith, but we'll see tomorrow. I'm going to leave the power up to the unit overnight, and without unplugging it, I'm going to see tomorrow night whether or not it is still able to find M13, if there's a decent night of seeing. There we go. Carpe noctem.